All right, welcome to the weekly free Launch That App webinar where I walk you through as fast as possible every possible thing you need to know to launch a mobile app. And we will cover absolutely everything. Okay, I'm just kidding. We're not covering every single thing. In fact, we're going to cover as much as we can, but there is so much more to launching a mobile app that uh, we can't cover it all in one session, but we'll do our best. Okay, so um, there absolutely is material that will help you, and we have created a complete guide to launching a profitable mobile app, and I want to introduce you to that today and show you all the different things that are possible and some of the things that you can take away today to start making progress in your mobile app right away. Even if you don't move forward with any of the other stuff that I have to offer at the end, this course today, this free webinar, you'll learn things that will help you move the needle in your projects. So stick around, and we're all going to learn something really great together today. Okay. So the whole idea is how to make a profitable app, right? How to launch a profitable app faster and cheaper without learning to write a single line of code. So this specifically, if you're wondering, is this for me? This is definitely for people who are entrepreneurs that are not necessarily tech savvy. If you are tech savvy, I don't want to exclude you. You are more than welcome to stay here. I will not be doing coding examples, even though there are some sometimes in my courses I do some examples with some coding. I'm not going to go into the technical detail of the technology behind mobile apps, but I will refer to them because that's important for an entrepreneur. The whole focus of this webinar today and for all of my courses is to help entrepreneurs connect with the resources and the knowledge they need to launch a mobile app, a profitable mobile app, faster and cheaper. So with that framework and that foundation, let's jump right in to the subjects a little bit here. So building software isn't easy. Okay, it's not easy at all, and it's not easy for a bunch of different reasons. And one of those reasons is it's very technically demanding, right? Writing software is writing code. Building software requires the code. Plus, if you want to be profitable with software, you need someone who knows how to sell that software and knows how to create the right feature sets and combine them in just the right way to make your customers happy, to solve a specific problem that your customers clearly have, right? So building software isn't easy, and this has been said by anyone who's ever tried, right? However, I don't think that it's impossible. I think that you can do it. I think you can do it. I know I can do it. I think that so many people are able to build software and build mobile apps that don't realize that they can. They feel crippled. They feel like there's no hope or there's no pathway. Uh, Often maybe you've had the experience where you've approached a developer and you tried to share your idea with them and they've just shut you down. Okay, that's happened to me early on. That happened to me, and it's quite difficult in those situations to have a developer or someone who is far more technical than you tell you that your idea is just garbage, or that it's just not possible. And that's actually one that we can talk a little bit more about. But when a developer or an engineer tells you that what you're proposing isn't possible, I think that means that you're onto something. Okay, so I want you to walk away from this webinar with the confidence that you can go and stand, toe to toe or face to face with a developer or engineer and, talk shop with them, talk to them about your idea, and really get yourself in a position to be confident enough to launch that app. So let's talk about the goals for today. What are we going to do in this webinar? What you should know by the end. If you're just starting out, so there's two groups here, okay? If you're just starting out with your mobile app, I want you to know how to launch a mobile app. I want you to feel confident that you know the steps at the very least, you know what the frameworks you should adopt are so that you can have success. And I want you to have the confidence to take your first step in the direction of launching a mobile app, even if it's a small step, okay? And then also, I think most importantly, I want you to walk away understanding your crucial role in the success of an app launch. A lot of times people will delegate just about everything to their developer, and we know that doesn't work. There are things that do work, but delegating everything to your developer does not work. And that doesn't mean you need to do all the technical work yourself, but it also doesn't mean that you should have the developer do the majority of the work that really an entrepreneur should do. And so we're going to talk about why your role is so crucial, and I want you to walk away with an understanding and appreciation that you do play a very central role in the development of your app and software. If you're in the middle of the process, because this is the other group of people that could be benefiting from this, if you're in the middle of the process of already developing a mobile app, I want you to have the ability to take a step back and see the beginning from the end. Like, what is your end goal? Where did you start, and where are you today? And what are some of the questions that you have in your mind? Are you stuck, right? I want you to have the confidence also to get unstuck and take whatever next steps you have in your development process. Part of that is knowing the beginning from the end, but also it's knowing exactly what the steps are in the middle. Knowing how to work with developers is not something that comes naturally to most people. And so understanding what those steps are that are next for you will help you get unstuck. And so I want you to have the confidence to get unstuck by the end of this webinar. And then also I want you to start formulating your go-to-market strategy. Now, it's not enough to build an app. What's the movie called? Field of Dreams, where they say, if you build it, they will come. Well, that is not the case at all with mobile apps. There are millions of apps out there, and you're probably thinking, well, how in the world can I be successful if there are millions of apps? Well, maybe I'll put this in perspective. If you're thinking about building a website instead of a mobile app, you're up against billions of websites, okay? So I would think that your odds are better at success with a mobile app because there's fewer of them in the world, but there's still so many that you're going to get lost in a sea of apps, just like you'll get lost in a sea of websites. But there are ways to stand out. There are ways to have a go-to-market strategy that will help you succeed, to get noticed, to get downloads, to get in-app purchases, to get people to subscribe to your content in your app, and to keep coming back to your app, leveraging technologies like mobile push notifications, right? Or some of the newer technologies like app clips or widgets from iOS 14. Yeah, we'll talk about that stuff too. Some really, really cool stuff. So those are the two goals. But I want the people that are new to it to understand what they're getting themselves into and understand what to do to take their first steps. And the people that are in the middle of the process, I want you to have the confidence to get unstuck. I want you to have kind of a vision of the beginning from the end so that you know what you need to do next. If you're in the middle and the heat of things, what you need to do next to succeed. Okay? I firmly believe this, right? If you have the right frameworks and the right guidance, you can launch that app, whatever the app is, right? Maybe it's just a utility app. Maybe it's an app that tracks sleep. Maybe it's just an entertaining app. Maybe it's a game. Maybe it's a reading app for books that other people wrote or that you wrote. Maybe it's a music player app that's just totally unique. Whatever the app is that you're wanting to launch, you can do it. You need to have the right frameworks and the right guidance in place, but you can launch that app. I'm fully confident of it, and it's an exciting it's an exciting world that we live in today, that you can do things that can touch the lives of hundreds of millions or even a billion people just by building one thing that can then be deployed to devices that sit in people's pockets and purses and just on their coffee table. It's crazy stuff. But I firmly believe that you can do it, right? So let me tell you a little bit about me. This is me. I never dressed this formal when I was at Apple. That's probably the most formal I was wearing. I look at those shiny black shoes I was wearing. That was back in 2013. I worked at Apple actually for a good amount of time, for 5 years, and it was outstanding. I worked in a group that was responsible for some of the relationships with external technology partners. And so I worked with, on the inside, engineers who were trying to build things. And I worked with the designers inside of Apple who were designing the things that needed to be built. And then I worked with the external people who were giving support in terms of labor or support in terms of technology, or even just like tools, right, to design the stuff. And so I sat in the middle of this really interesting vortex of really cool stuff where I got to see, the future products, but I also got to see the work that was going on right now. Then I also got to talk to the people that were doing strategy. And then I got to talk with external people who kept trying to guess what Apple was going to do next. And so I sat in this world where I started to get really good at helping people that weren't technical achieve a very deeply technical and deeply engineering involved outcomes. And I did this for the whole time I was there, and I got to really, really loving it. And so, by the at like my 5 year mark, I said, you know what, let's jump out into the world and let's see how much this experience that I've gained and how much I've learned here can benefit those outside of Apple. Because I mean, I could have stayed there forever, but I didn't, because I really wanted to go and touch other parts of the world with this new skill that I had. I wanted to share what I could do. Bridging the gap between engineers and entrepreneurs thrills me to do it, right? So let me give you kind of a step back. So that career at Apple was amazing for me because it fit right into the way that I kind of view the world, right? Bridging these two areas. Okay. Before I jump backwards in time, this is just a fun photo I like. This was at my very first Worldwide Developer Conference, and I'm right there in the front, and there's Johnny Ive, the British accent guy, the product designer that talks, about how, the chamfered edges and the rounded corners. Like, he's no longer at Apple, but that's him. Phil Schiller, chief marketing guy. He's the mastermind behind all of the marketing, what products should be done and who it should be targeted to and all those things. And then Lorraine Powell Jobs, Steve Jobs' former wife, or former Steve Jobs' wife. Or, yeah. And then Al Gore, the inventor of the internet. Jokingly, I don't know if he invented the internet, but whatever. There's Al Gore, and then Eddie Q. He did the software and services, which is like iTunes, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, like all of the services that we use from the Apple platforms. Okay, fun photo there. Okay, so but again, taking things back, I wanted to build software from the time I was like young. I wanted to build software that mattered, and I wanted to build software that wasn't just simple. I wanted to do some stuff that mattered. I guess it could be simple, but I wanted it to be meaningful to the people that used it. And of course, I knew that anything that was going to take up all of my time, it needed to make some money for myself. And as a kid, I was like, I need to make money because I want to buy for me at the time, it was like a little 50cc Honda motorcycle, like the kind that would, as an adult, the seat comes up to my knee, like so small, but I really wanted that thing. But I also had this passion for technology and computers, and so I really wanted to do software. So all growing up, I would kind of dabble here and there. I didn't grow up in a household where my parents were very technical. They were into communications and broadcast and television production, but not in technology. And so I kind of was a rogue in that regard. I was kind of alone in that, and so I didn't have a lot of backing as I was pursuing this. And so I was kind of self-taught as I went along, right? And the whole time I felt like I was not technical enough. I had friends who has dads that were engineers, and I thought, okay, they can be an engineer because their dad's an engineer, and I can't be an engineer because my dad isn't an engineer. But I'm still so fascinated about this stuff. I'm not technical enough. Well, I went with that attitude forward in life, and I took some computer science classes, and I tried to learn things, but I felt like I couldn't do it all myself. And even today, I still feel that way. But there was a huge learning that happened in between. And so my first big attempt, when I sort of realized that I couldn't do everything, but I didn't quite understand what needed to be done, I had this really awesome opportunity in college with a bunch of friends to we were going to build something that was similar to Facebook, but not Facebook. It was after Facebook. And we thought it was such a great idea, the way that Facebook set things up, where there was exclusive access to the university that it started in. So what we were going to do is a little bit of a twist on a social network. We wanted to build something called iPolitical. And this was a place online where politics and social media kind of meet together. We wanted to make it non-biased, more driven by data, help people understand the bias and news sources, all those kind of cool things. We had such a cool vision for it. We made templates of what your user profile should look like. Also like this little political I guess odometer, not odometer, like a little meter that measured how far leaning left or how far leaning right you were, and based on how you would post and the stories that you would share on the platform. Really cool stuff. And so we had this awesome vision. And so we went to the university and we applied for some grant money, and they gave us some. And so we were awarded the largest grant for the university at the time, and they gave us $10,000 to go out and build this project for the school. And so now we had money and we had an idea, but we didn't have the ability to build a web platform. We weren't developers. We weren't, web guys. We used the internet, right, just like anybody else. But we didn't know where to start. after we had the great idea. And so the first thing we did was we started to kind of like Google things. We asked around a little bit. We talked to some people that we knew, like in the computer science department, but it was all kind of dead ends because people didn't know how to build what we showed them. Like, and we made some slides and some sketches and stuff. And so we eventually we were referred to a local company that would develop software under contract. And the way that they would do it is they would then contract out to other developers that were working remotely around the world. And we thought, okay, that's interesting. Let's go talk to them. So we went and talked to them, and we sat down, we shared our idea, and they said, absolutely, we can do that. No problem. We've got this great guy. He's out in Florida. And at the time we were in Utah, and so Florida's across the country from Utah. And so we said, okay, connect us with this guy. And so the guy, we met with him, we signed a contract with the company, we started meeting with this developer, we paid some money to the company to get the developer up and running, and we kept paying money, and we kept meeting with the developer, sharing with him our vision. And it was really slow moving, but we weren't sure why it was slow moving. We just assumed the best, and we thought, man, this developer's probably working really hard and building some cool stuff. But we went like this for weeks. Like 6 weeks went by, 8 weeks went by, like 3 months went by, and we're like, well, how far along are we on our project? And eventually what happened was that we ran out of money. We couldn't keep paying, but for some reason the developer still needed to be paid. The company wouldn't request more work from the developer until we also paid more money. But we had burned through $10,000 of the university's money trying to build this platform. I mean, we had proof of concept, but we didn't have anything to show for all the development work that was done, or I guess the money spent on development work. And that hurt. The project ended up not like coming to fruition. It didn't work, not because it wasn't a good idea. It didn't work because we didn't know how to work with the developer. We didn't know how to get technology built. We had an awesome idea, and a lot of passion and a lot of drive, but we just didn't know the process. We didn't know what to do. And so it ended up being something that never got built. We didn't get to see the embodiment of our idea as iPolitical.com. Okay. But thinking back, like, there was a lot of promises made by the developer to us, but the problem wasn't the developer. The problem really, I think we relied too heavily on the developer to just know what needed to be done next and to do the thing that needed to be done next and take our vaguely communicated vision and turn it into something amazing. Like, we thought that's what was going to happen. But what we learned was that the developer wasn't passionate about our idea. The developer was passionate about getting paid by the company that we were working with. That's it. He wasn't interested in working for free. He wasn't going to work beyond the contract. He wasn't going to work for a reduced rate. He wanted to work for his normal rate. And as soon as we stopped paying him his normal rate, he would stop working on the project. And his project was write the lines of code that you're told, not, further the vision, not implement the vision as you're passionate about it. Because he wasn't. And that was hard for us because we were so passionate. We were blind to how other people might feel about it. But I didn't know that it wasn't the developer's fault until I realized something. And that was that I needed to go spend the time. Like, this is the crazy thing. I went and I spent years and nights and weekends because I wasn't pursuing this as a career, but I really needed to understand what a developer does. I need to understand the technology that they leverage. I need to understand what it means to do work as a developer. Because if I didn't know those things, then I wouldn't be able to actually effectively work with them, because they kept striking out. And I was like, why can't I get a developer to do what I'm asking? Why can't I get a developer to design something I've communicated to him? What is the missing ingredient here to make this work? And so I went and I learned how to write some code, and I've written my own software. But that's not my dream. My dream isn't to write the software. My dream is to bring some cool stuff into the world. And so, but I spent all this time and I learned just this one lesson out of that, right? And that's what I want to share with you, so that you can learn the lesson, so you don't have to go spend years learning how to be a software developer to learn this one lesson, right? And that lesson is that knowledge is enough. Not knowledge of how to be a developer, not knowledge of how to write code, right? But knowledge about the process, right? The technical skills are optional when you're launching an app, right? But you need to be able to amplify other skills. That's the secret weapon. You need to know what their skills are, and you need to be able to leverage their skills, appreciate their skills, value their skills, and just aim it, right? Like, they are a hammer, use them as a hammer. Don't ask the hammer to do something because it doesn't know what to do, and it doesn't care either, right? It's just use the skills of others in an effective way, right? But to do that, you need to know what those skills are. And so I've created this framework in this course where I walk you through the entire process of development from an entrepreneur's perspective in a way that lets you understand and appreciate what a developer is doing, what a developer needs from you so that they can do their best work. I can't tell you how frustrating it is. And again, like I said, I traversed the other side. I went and did developer work, and even today I still do some developer work for people. And I tell you, it's such it's an eye-opening experience to be on the other side of the conversation where an entrepreneur is asking a developer to do certain work, and how valuable it is to me to be given instruction in the right way, right? And how valuable it is to me to not have an expectation on me as the developer to have passion for your project like you do, because you're assuming that gaps will be filled in, because in your mind gaps are constantly filled in by the passion that you have for your project. Now, not to say that you won't find a developer that's also passionate, but that is rare. It really is rare, and I've come to just accept that. And so to make sure that you don't get into a situation where you're trying to work with a developer who is not passionate and then you don't know what to do, we're going to go through this framework, and we created this framework so that you can avoid the pitfalls of assuming the developer knows what you want, and then of course they don't, and then you waste money and time, and eventually, like iPolitical, it doesn't launch, right? So here's kind of the takeaway for this concept that I learned, and that's that complementary skills, when they're leveraged properly, can change the world. You really can do incredibly meaningful things. Okay, now I want to share a story with you of when this worked, right? So the formula that I learned, like, this is the process that I learned, and right, it's that you need to know the process, right? Not the actual details. Like, I need to know how the manufacturing plant works, but I don't need to know like exactly what's happening at each step and the chemical reactions behind certain things. Like, I can rely on people, but I need to know who knows what, right, in the factory. If I'm going to run a factory, I need to know at least what the big chunk components are, right? But you need to know it, and then once you know it, you got to own that thing, meaning you're taking responsibility. You take responsibility for the deliverables of those things, and when you take ownership of it, you make sure it gets done. Not that you do it yourself, but that you make sure it's done, right? So I learned also that you can lead technical teams without being the technical person, okay? And there's a certain way to do it. There's absolutely a wrong way to lead technical teams as the non-technical person, and we definitely want to avoid that, right? The fastest way to lose respect from someone who has technical skills, an engineer or developer, is to minimize their contribution or minimize their value. It will destroy your project forever, even if there's a hint or a whiff of that, right? But there are ways that you can actually successfully lead them. They'll love you and really follow your lead as you plow forward in your projects, right? Another part of the formula is that you need to select app features that leverage powerful technologies. And what I mean here is existing technologies. That makes things easier for you, makes it easier for the developer, and it makes it easier for your customers because you're using things that are familiar, but you're using them in a new, unique, combined way. I think back to the very first iPhone, and if you look at the components that went into that first iPhone, none of it was invented, right? Apple wasn't designing their own displays. They weren't making their own batteries. They weren't doing like glass for themselves. Like, everything in that thing, or like radios or processors, RAM, like, flash storage, all of those things were designed, invented by other people. But the new thing that was built was an iPhone, which was a unique combination of all these different technologies together. Okay, and so that meant that the iPhone could talk to existing cell phone towers. Oh, imagine that. They didn't make a unique chip because you don't need a unique cell chip. Just use the one everyone else is using. Also, they didn't create a web browser on the phone that was so different that it wouldn't communicate over HTTP. Okay, well, that works. Sorry to get technical there, but the idea was the iPhone leveraged existing common technologies, but it combined them in a way that no one had ever thought of before. And so that is how you should think of yourself. You're not going to be inventing low-level technologies and you might get in the weeds thinking that that's what you are born to do. But I'll tell you, there's not a lot of money in inventing low-level technologies. Okay, the only way to make money, and I know because I would license these things for Apple, the only way to make money with low-level technologies are if you have like a very broad exclusive right to something that everyone is just dying to have access to. But even then, like, enforcing your patent against a giant company, like, wow, is that what you want to spend your life doing? You know, so the best way forward to make something that is meaningful, powerful, is to build something by combining existing technologies that are already out there, familiar to people, and that are easy for developers to grab and combine on your behalf. Okay, so the next thing to do is that you can't just, like I said at the beginning, you can't just build and then expect people to come. You need to build an app brand that really does stand out. Okay, you need to have a brand that people say, I know who that is and I know what that app does. I've seen other people using it and I can't wait to get my hands on it. You remember there's really cool ways that that we can talk about that will help your brand really stand out. Again, there's millions of apps. Don't feel bad about that because there's billions of websites. You don't want to go build a website instead of an app because of the number of existing, right? Because you're just deceiving yourself. There's fewer apps than websites. But the interesting thing about the way Dropbox got popular was very, very like organically, right? You got extra space, if you remember this, right? You got extra space on Dropbox for sending an invite to another person, okay? And that's how they kind of grew Dropbox. Every time I gave more, every time I invited a friend and that friend signed up, they'd give me 2 more gigabytes. And at the time, like 2 gigabytes is so much space. Now I'm like, I've over 2 gigabytes is like nothing now. Like I've overwhelmed my iCloud had like 2 terabytes and I ran out of space. Just a lot of video of my kids, I guess. But at the time, it was amazing. It was a really cool strategy, and I think that's kind of been done a lot by other people. Like, hey, invite your friend and you get some benefit of joining. I know Amazon did that with some gift cards. Invite a friend to Amazon Prime and then you can get some free stuff or a discount, whatever. There are ways to make your app brand stand out rather than just putting something that's beautiful or that you think is like, you know, the coolest thing since sliced bread out there and hoping people find it. You need to be active and proactive. And that is the next part about being super successful with launching your app, okay? And then you need to be in a situation where you're thinking about a sustainable business model, and that's what you're actually targeting. You're building something that isn't like a one and done. I think the fastest way to kill your mobile app is to sell it for a set dollar amount and then assume that you'll get everyone in the world to buy it for that set dollar amount. But then like tell yourself that, well, and then after that, I'll probably have to come up with another app. Well, no, there's a better way to do it. There's a way better way to have a sustainable business model around your app. There's options like in-app subscriptions. There's options like in-app purchases. There's options like the interest. And we talk about one of the courses actually dedicated specifically to this, but I'll tell you real quick. There is this interest. The history of the App Store is very interesting because they had originally just purchases and or free, and then if you purchased an app, the policy said you could get updates forever on that app if you purchased it, and that put developers in a tricky situation because they would sell an app for 99 cents because at the time there wasn't any in-app subscriptions or there were in-app purchase or subscriptions, so they would sell it for 99 cents. They'd maybe sell it to like 300,000 people and they're like, yeah, we made a lot of money the first couple of months, but then those 300,000 people who are the real fans and maybe the only demographic that really wanted to have this app, they already bought it. And so now they're sitting back and waiting for all these updates, but they only paid the first fee of 99 cents. And so the company's sitting there thinking our revenue has stopped, but our obligation to our customers hasn't. That's not good. Great. Now, how are we supposed to make money? And so they were like, well, we want to release new features, but Apple won't let us charge people for it. So what do we do? So what they did was they come out with versions 2. So it'd be like, planning app version 1, and then they'd be like 99 cents, and then planning app version 2, which is the updated version, which just has some tweaks to it. It's like version 2, another 99 cents. And so they felt like they needed, and now you have both of them on the App Store, and it's like people are still using the first one, so they can't remove it, and they want to sell the second one, so they got to keep that there. It confuses the customers. And so there was a change made, more more business friendly, more sustainable business friendly business models have been implemented on the App Store, and there are 8 now. There's 8 different business models that you can attempt and implement in your app business. So 8 versus the previously it was just 1, or I guess there was 2 before, which was you buy it, you make money off the sale, or you give it away for free and you make money off of like ads. Okay, which I mean, who loves ads instead of apps? I do. I really don't. I hate them. I hate those full page ones that like they have a countdown. It's like you can hit the X button in 30 seconds. You're like 30 seconds? You know how much I can get done in 30 seconds? And you try to leave the app and then you come back and that timer hasn't moved. It's like, no. The timer will not count down until you're on the screen. So incredibly annoying. So yeah, we're not all about that. We want a sustainable business model, something that you can feel proud of and that actually generates real money in exchange for real value. Okay. And then once you have that great business model in place, you need to really dial it up to 11 and start increasing your app's profitability in exponential ways, right? That is, partnerships and follow-on apps and certain in-app in-app disrupts that I don't see a lot of people doing this. And so doing those types of in-app interrupts that get people to buy immediately because you are able to detect when they're in your app. You know what page they're on. You know what they're looking at. If they enable those things, you're able to service your customers in a very targeted way and in like a non-creepy way that just makes them so thrilled, gets them back into your app, keeps them purchasing, and just really, really drives your profits through the roof. Okay, so there's the formula. Okay, now I want to share with you an experience I had about this. This thing is a lamp. Well, it's a lamp, but it's also a safe. It's also a smart light that connects to a smart home. It can also be controlled with your smartphone with an app, and it would connect to Apple's HomeKit. And now this wasn't just an idea. This was an idea embodied in a product. This thing actually worked. And this is a prototype that me and a few of my friends made. And here's a little video clip. Apologize if firearms are offensive, but let me just share with you what this. Here you go. Right. This is a steel cylinder. Okay. With 3D printed drawers because this is a prototype, but the inner casing is also steel, bent steel right there in the middle, has motors in the bottom of it. When it hit the bottom, it would lock in place. These things were like incredibly powerful, strong safes, but they were also smart lights, but they were also, nightstand, and they would also charge your phone. You could put it in there and do inductive charge. There's so many cool things. And originally this was just an idea. We had this vision, this idea of this thing, and we're like, how do we bring this into the world? Well, we followed that process that I just shared with you. That formula that I just shared with you is what we did in order to generate enough attention, generate enough funding from investors and from Kickstarter supporters, as well as get the contribution of the right type of engineering talent to make this idea a reality. On the team, we had, and here's a little software video clip. I'll just let this play. But on the team, we had not just software developers. We had electrical engineers. We had mechanical engineers. We had software developers, right? And we also had some marketing folks. Did I miss anyone else? Yeah. And each person was like dedicated to a skill, and these people, we all worked together, and I managed them through the process of designing this thing. Now, again, I am not like a credentialed engineer. Right? I love technology and I've been swimming in it my whole life, but I wouldn't ever hold myself out as an engineer like the people that I respect as engineers, okay? But in order for this to work, I needed to at least appreciate at a high enough level or at a low enough level to appreciate the work that is being done by those engineers, to enable their work, to help them take the next step, to know what I could do to support them, but also help them know what they needed to do to further implement the vision of the product. And as you can see, like in this slide, there's like what's going on in this slide? There's a lot of stuff going on in this slide. In fact, this is pretty technical stuff. We'll go from left to right. The left is a mobile app. Check out how beautiful that is, right? Beautiful mobile app. That looks fantastic. Then moving to the right up there, that's me sitting there. I don't know if you can see on my on my shirt there. I have a little emoji fist bump. Yep. There's a soldering iron there. There's a drill right there. But then I don't know if you can see my mouse. Maybe you can. I don't know. Oops. I don't want to go back. No, you can't see my mouse. But right below me, there's like this metal plate. It has like wires coming out of it. That's the bottom thing that we mounted all the motors to. And the picture immediately below that, that is actually that plate with everything all wired together. So we had motors that were spinning some belts, that were spinning some screws that would push this thing up into the air so it would be exposed for the user. And if you move to the right there is the smaller version. There's only one motor in that one. We made 2 versions of this thing, fully functioning prototypes, beautiful stuff. And it would push the inside up using those screws, and then it would reverse direction, pull it down, and then lock it when it was in the down position, right? Super safe, super smart, okay? We built it. We did it, right? We built this awesome product, and the way we did it was the way it was using the process that I just shared with you, right? We had the opportunity to go to trade shows. We were presenting this and selling this to people at trade shows. I was interviewed on the news. I don't even remember what network this was, but like we were doing great. We were having super success, and this was amazing to me that we were able to take those principles, we were able to apply them, work together effectively as people from different backgrounds, but every single person on the team knew exactly what each thing did. Okay, now that can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Like I said, you do not need to be technical to manage technical people or to lead technical teams. And by lead, I don't mean tell them what to do. I mean help them adopt the vision and implement the vision. Okay, and so while we're not doing hardware, software, services, like a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, software. We're not doing that. We've narrowed it down because we found that the fastest way to get your idea out to the world is through software. I mean, it took an incredible amount of time and effort. In addition to that, a whole bunch of like supplier partners, because you have all those different parts. And it was crazy. Like our bill of materials was insanely long. There's so many different components that we were dealing with when we built that lamp. Whereas as software, you can work with a very small team, even one developer, if you find the right one. So again, you need to know the process so you can own the process. If you want to lead technical teams, you can, even if you're not technical. You got to select the technology that is leveraging, you got to select features that are leveraging technologies that are just powerful and common and aren't so custom that it'll take forever just for one piece of feature, right? You gotta combine stuff to make a new thing. Let me go back to this picture here. None of these things, I guess one of them was custom. Okay, on the bottom right corner, there's that orange box, I guess, in the bottom of that base thing. That it's called a PCB, that green board with all the different stuff on it. We did in fact design that, but I will say that all we did was we designed where each component went. Now again, like I'm not an electrical engineer, but I know, oh, it's actually right behind my head. Let me move my picture real quick. Right there. It was I'm over it now, and it's right there. Okay, right behind where my head was. So right how does this work? Right there. Yep, right over there. That green board, we did design. The team designed, right? I didn't design it because I'm not an electrical engineer, but the team designed it, and we sent the plans over to a plant in China, and they fabricated it and sent it. It was so cool. It was amazing that we were able to do this. But I didn't, like I said, the important piece was I didn't know how to do it myself, but I knew exactly what was going on, so I could make sure that it was aligned with the vision. Okay, and these are beautiful. These were actually 3D renders based on the real ones that you saw in that bedroom where they were going up and down. We just thought these were kind of classy. All right, cool. So again, the formula, right? You got to be able to leverage technologies to enable your features, leverage existing technologies, right? And then you got to create a brand that stands out. Like our brand really did stand out. We did a Facebook push on Facebook. We did in-person trade shows. We did everything that we could that we saw other people weren't willing to do to stand out. And right, we got on the news, and we were on the local news. I don't think I had a picture of that. Local news. No, that's not in there, right? So this was national news that I was being interviewed for, and then there was local news that we were being interviewed for. We were at the trade show. People were like, "What is this crazy cool thing?" I was like, "Yeah, well, we built it. You know, just a team of scrappy people doing some cool stuff." Okay, again, there it is, right? So your business model needs to be sustainable. Now, this is something that I learned, and that's why I've personally shifted more toward software, because a sustainable business model is a model that can, I guess, fund your life and fund your business into the future. In a very clear path. So it's not that we couldn't go and sell more lamps to the same people. We could have done that, and we could have just sold lamps to everyone in the world. That would have been great too. But it wasn't as sustainable as, let's say, someone who signs into your app and says that they want to now subscribe for a monthly fee of $4.99, and you now have 12 months or 24 months or the entire lifetime of that customer where they're paying you over and over and over again. With the lamp, they'd pay us once and then it would be theirs, and then like, what are we going to do, right? Charge them to open and close it? I mean, that would be a horrible business model, but maybe that's a good idea. Every time you open it, you pay us a quarter. Every time you close it, you pay us 50 cents, right? No, yeah, no one would use it. So a sustainable business model is super important, and that's again why I shifted towards software like exclusively. And then you got to learn the secrets to increase app profitability, and that's where things get really interesting. And this is things that even just in the last like year or so have really come to the surface for me and made a huge difference in my personal life. Okay, so I guess I'll ask this question: like, what is like holding you back from launching your app, right? If you want to launch a mobile app, well, awesome. Like, what's holding you back? Did you feel like you need to have a formal degree? I know I felt that way. Like, in fact, going into college, I felt like I couldn't go be an engineer because I wasn't one before college. And I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like everyone that was in like computer science and engineering did some special thing in high school, or like their parents were engineers. So I had that apprehension. But I'll tell you right now, it's not true. If that's holding you back, just dismiss it, right? Get rid of that negative thought. It is not required, right? If you have no track record of success, that's fine. Get a coach, find a guide, do what's necessary to get the skills and the knowledge in your head so that you can own the process of launching an app, right? Are you afraid of failing? Don't be afraid of failing, okay? Everyone fails. And that's good that everyone fails, because that means you're learning. If you only did things that you knew how to do, or if you only did things that you would never fail at, you would never learn. In fact, I feel very strongly that if I'm part of a team where nobody else is ever failing, it makes me suspicious that these people aren't actually learning anything new. Maybe they're top of their game, but then they stopped. And if people aren't trying new things, then they're not failing, which means you're not moving forward. So if you're afraid of failure, don't be, because failure means progress. Okay, that means you're trying things outside your comfort zone. And if you don't have a technical co-founder, that shouldn't be a hesitation. Now, that does make it easier if you have like a super technical co-founder that shares your vision, but it is not required. You can get all of the necessary knowledge and resources and frameworks that you need to succeed to launch an app without having a technical co-founder. In fact, your co-founder or your technical guru is going to be your guide or your framework, or the formula that you use to get this stuff done. But you got to have one. You can't just go at it, off the cuff. You really got to have a plan to strategically do this, because at the end of the day, your money is on the line, right? Your success is determined by your ability to implement this, your financial success, and your self pride and value, right? So what's holding you back? Right? Don't let things hold you back. Let's move forward. And again, like, I have resources that I'm like dying to share with you to make sure that you have what you need to launch your mobile app. Like I said at the beginning, I am so incredibly passionate about connecting, entrepreneurs with vision, with people who have such deep technical skills that it's almost like paralyzing. Like, they're so incredibly smart. Like, I am just fascinated, and I'm just so grateful to know the people that I know from the backgrounds that they're from. I am like, it just kind of like, it's humbling to know what I've experienced and the people I've met and how smart and bright they are and what they're able to do as their part in a larger project. And it's interesting. I fall into the mistake of thinking that other people view the world the way that I do, and I have to stop myself every time, and I say, you know what, I actually have a unique perspective, because I've been sitting in both sides of the world for a very long time, and I don't know what it's like to not sit in the middle. And so what I'm able to do, what I need to appreciate is that I can see things that entrepreneurs can't see, and I can see things that engineers can't see, and I can see things that both sides would benefit from knowing. And so I have made it like my mission in life to connect these resources, in my own projects, because I can see and do, but also for people that can see who need a partner that can do. Like I love connecting those resources. So, by all means, take advantage of the stuff that I'm putting together, because it will help you take that next step, right? So let's talk about Launch That App and what it is. So it's a series of courses, and I'm hosting them right now on mastermind.com. So Launch That App is designed to help you go from idea and idea validation, like that's so incredibly important. You don't want to have an idea and get down the road and it be a bad idea and then realize it only after you spend a bunch of money, right? So we start out with idea validation. We go from there all the way through to App Store submission, and once you get approval, then also like turning on your in-app purchases and subscriptions, and how to monetize and how to market your app and how to get downloads and how to do all the stuff necessary to get people to come back to your app every single day, right? Make it part of their daily routine, because we know what it's like to be annoyed by an app, disappointed by an app, and then what do? Like, you don't have to keep it around. You just delete the thing and then it's out of your life. Well, we're going to do the other way, where we become so central to people's lives that they come back to our apps all the time, right? So we go from idea phase to obsession, right? Absolute obsession with the app and everything in between, including early marketing efforts, right? Making sure that you have an audience that's willing to do some beta feedback. Like, you can actually launch beta versions of your app on the App Store. Right? I don't think you knew that, right? But you can. And it's like this secret app store. It's an official secret app store where it's not like jailbreaking your phone. It's actually something made by Apple specifically to let you do beta deployments to people to get feedback during the development process. We cover that, and it's awesome. It's so incredibly powerful. We also talk about, this is kind of an interesting thing. So one of the I don't want to read all this text here, okay? I'm going to leave it on the screen for just a second. Okay, and like, honestly, maybe take a screenshot of that, because I don't want to read through all these things. But this is all the stuff that we're going to cover. Like this, let me move my head real quick just so you can see it. Okay, there, take your screenshot. Now I'm coming back and this screen is going away. But this is kind of the stuff you'll walk away with. Everything from user design, user experience design, user interface design, all the way down to like mastering in-app purchases. Okay, like that's the course. Now, there are, like, let me walk you through it. So it's tiered. So based on your needs, I have a course for that. Okay, Launch That App free, which is this. Every single Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, I have this free webinar. Jump on here, talk to you about the course, some of the learnings, and then also just, it's an introductory for people who don't know what this is about. Okay, so you can come join this every Friday, no problem. Okay, but then we have some other like lower dollar ones that are this one is actually kind of fun. But what I do in the developer course is I actually help you understand some of the very basic components of writing software. So, and I'm doing stuff that's super simple, like how do I display an image on the screen? I'm not going to teach you how to be a developer, but I'm going to do things that are fundamental to development work, and you'll get kind of an idea of the tools that a developer would use to build stuff for you, right? And there's little nuggets of who knows what'll come out here, but this one is actually a lot of fun, and it's just like a low dollar amount monthly thing. So it keeps it's almost like a YouTube channel, but it's just on mastermind.com. It just keeps me producing content to help you learn what it's like for a developer as they're interacting with the tools and building stuff for your app. Okay. I've another course, like we're going up this tier, right? Where and all of these are kind of broken out, but then there's a course at the end that actually includes all of it. But working with developers, like there's project management and communication strategies that you need to know to get results. There's things like, hey, I want to go ask a developer if he'll work for free for maybe equity in my small business. And you know what? Every single entrepreneur that I've talked to that has been pitched with that, they've laughed. They're like, I don't know. Like they've never just said, absolutely, I love working for equity. And you can imagine if you just like take that thought forward, they're not stupid, right? They're actually really smart. So A, you're insulting their intelligence. B, equity in a company that doesn't actually have sales, what is that worth? right? And how long is that going to last? Like, there are very narrow situations where where a developer would say yes, and I found it. There was a project I was working on, and in the course we talk about it at length. But there's a project I was working on where the developer was like, "This is the first time I've ever considered actually working for equity because of where things are in the project." I was like, "Awesome. Well, then let's write up some papers or whatever, right?" But for the most part, developers won't work for equity or for free. Okay, just know that. Okay. Another one, self-branded apps. I was going to say this earlier, but I'm going to say it now. This is a secret weapon for anyone who is an influencer. If you're an influencer / entrepreneur, you must take this course. I'm not kidding. Like, this is the most important course on apps that an entrepreneur could take. An influencer entrepreneur. That's because of the whole situation around these platforms owning your content. Not in the terms of like they can go reuse it for stuff. I'm talking about they own the distribution of your content. They actually own your followers. You think you do, but you don't, right? You post a YouTube video, you tweet something, you put something on Facebook or Instagram, and you think, oh, my followers who have turned on the notification bell and set up like subscriptions, they're going to be notified. Well, guess what? You aren't the only person that they follow on social media. And as a result, when those notifications come from all of the other companies, yours just gets buried behind those stacks. But if you were able to have your own self-branded app that brought all those tweets and YouTubes and Facebook posts to the surface in your own space on the home screen or the lock screen of someone's phone, well, that's a game changer now, because all the Kardashians are still stuck in YouTube and Instagram behind all the stacks of your friends and their pets and their kids and their walks in the park. But you have your own real estate on the home screen. And even if there are stacks, it's just more stacks of you, all the way down, right? So self-branded apps is a powerhouse of an opportunity that I really think that entrepreneurs who are also influencers should not miss out on. Okay. This one is specifically about app traffic seekers. Maybe you've already launched an app and you're just not having success. No one's downloading it. It's sitting there. You have like 2 reviews. What in the world am I supposed to do? We want to drive downloads, purchases, and subscriptions. That's what this one's all about, right? Driving people to the app, getting them to download, make a purchase or subscribe an app, and then just keep that money flywheel going, right? This course is specifically about that. Okay, then we have Launch That App Foundations. So this one is the full course, and this one is we'll get you everything that you need. Now, it's just the course because I have some mentoring and one-on-one sessions that I do to give some specific feedback and input and help map out projects and things like that for the other course. But the Foundations has all the content that you need. You can take this, and if you're like a self-starter and you're good at being self-directed, then take this one and then you're good to go. Okay. But then there's the Launch That App Complete, which has everything in the Foundations, which is like I said, a full 6-week course of content, which is video content, plus it has a whole bunch of written context with content with worksheets and frameworks and things like that. But the complete version, which is here, it also includes your lifetime access to updated materials, because this stuff's going to get updated every single 6 weeks, because I take the complete course. It's a limited number of people in there, and I take them through every 6 weeks, right? I wish there was more of me, because then I could stagger it and do it all at the same time, but it really is something that needs to be done in 6-week blocks. And so we walk through, like right now we're halfway through a 6-week period. And so we're having people sign up for the next session that starts in 3 weeks. But yeah, that's this one, right? So you get one-on-one mentoring, you get templates for the user interface and the user experience. You'll get monetization templates, right? Like, who doesn't want that? Because it's like, how do I make money? What's a business structure for my app, right? You'll also get a self-branded app that you get to keep for your brand. Like, it's a template that I built for myself, but you get to have your version, and it's like a gift to you at the very end. So you get an app, right? It's not as sophisticated as the one that you have in your vision, but it is something that is going to let you get onto the lock screen of your followers. Okay, that's what that self-branded app is designed to do, right? So this is it, right? It's to Launch That App Complete. It's the full solution to all the problems along the path to launch that app, right? To launch a profitable app. And I couldn't be more excited to to give this to you, right? To get this content out there and to help you have success. There's people that reach out to me and they say, I don't know if I can afford the course. I don't know if it's right for me, or I already hired a developer. Do I really need to take the course? And the answer to that is, well, I know from experience, and I could bring dozens of people in to talk to you. In fact, as part of our mastermind class in the Complete, we actually are having a guest speaker come in next week who has been a developer for over 10 years and has managed other teams of developers, and he can talk to you. And he's going to, I'm going to make sure that I ask him this question, but there is so much money spent on rework. There's so much money spent on time that was spent building things that weren't really part of the vision. And there's just so much time and materials wasted when an entrepreneur comes to a developer or to a project without a plan, without knowing what to do. And so I guess the real question is, do you want to try and fail and learn that way? That's fine, right? That'll take longer. It'll be very painful. Or you want to like nearly guarantee success. That's what this course will help you do. Achieve the success that you need to launch the app and just get on with sharing it with the world. If your goal is to learn, then yeah, like we can just be friends and you go learn everything and it's going to be bumps and bruises. And if you like that kind of thing, yeah, awesome. That's so cool. That's what I went through. It takes a long time. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But if you want to get your app out into the world and your goal is to make a difference and make money, then this course is like, this is what you need so that you don't waste time spinning your wheels in like project mode forever. So this is over at mastermind.com. Like you'll find me, I'm like right there on the front page, right next to Russell Brunson, if you know that guy. It's his courses, some Rubik's Cube guy, then that's me. Inside of that course, you'll see a list of my free course, this one, right? And then a list of all the other ones and links to them on the different pages of mastermind.com. So go check those out, okay? This is just an outline. This is all of the stuff that we covered during the course by weeks, and some of the course material that's distributed as part of the complete version. All right, 6 weeks of just intense training and lots of fun. Okay. Again, I said there's other courses, and I'm like super stoked about these courses, and so go check it out. Join me for some of the free stuff. Join me for like the almost developer course, super low dollar amount just to keep the thing running. And man, there's just so much that we can do as we launch that app. And yeah, I just can't wait to see how it goes. So head over to mastermind.com. Check out the courses. Sign up. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, mark@launchthatApp.com. mark@launchthatApp.com. And yeah, let's launch that app. Let's make a dent in the universe and make money while we're doing it. So thank you for joining. I'm super thrilled and grateful that you were able to watch this. Again, we'll be back here again next Friday, but I'd love to see you on Monday in one of the courses. So have an awesome weekend, and